Okay guys, I'm terribly sorry for the delay on this video. Logan Grimnar, I know I promised him to you last Saturday, but honestly the Cathay video last week where I showed off every single model in that range all built and ready to go, it took way longer than expected to get it all constructed, which just pushed everything back a little bit. So this then had to be pushed to today, which is Monday. So hopefully you're still very much excited to see how I tackled Logan Grimnar, the boss of all Space Wolves. He is such a cool miniature and I cannot wait to get him painted and on the tabletop. So without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, so this is the, of course, famed Logan Grimnar. This is the fourth iteration this model has actually had. First one was gorgeous, second one was gorgeous, third one we do not speak of, the sleigh. And then the fourth one is this unbelievable model. Now, I've broken him down into three sections: his like rocky outcroppy base, the actual wolves that go with him, and then Logan Grimnar himself. I'm not going to be painting the rocky base or the wolves in this video because I've already done videos covering both. If you want to learn how I painted the rock in this video, go to my basing Space Wolves video I did a couple of weeks ago. And then if you want to learn how to paint the wolves like I do, I did a Patreon exclusive video teaching you guys how to paint the Fenrisian wolves in 3 different fur schemes. So if you want to go check that out, the links for my Patreon stuff will be linked below. Logan Grimnar is what I shall be focusing on in today's video. He is a big, burly boy. For some reason, the footage for that very first step got messed up, and I do apologize for that. So that was Space Wolves Grey contrast applied all over the armor sections. I don't know what happened. I think it was already recording, and then I accidentally hit record, or at least I thought I was hitting record. I was actually stopping the recording like an idiot. So that was my bad. I do apologize. So as you can see, his armor has this like kind of baby blue color to it. That was Space Wolves Grey applied, like I said, all over the flat armor panels of the model. The model was also sprayed black and then sprayed a light grey colour to give it a perfect base coat for contrasting. We are now grabbing Skeleton Horde and applying that all over his awesome big fur pelt going across his back. From here we're going to go for Dark Oath Flesh. We're going to use this for his face, and then also the inside of his cloak and the outside of his pelt are like the kind of skin flesh of the beast. It's more tanned than skin, so it's not going to be gory or bloody or anything like that. It is just going to look like old tanned leather, and I think Dark Oath Flesh is a really nice place to begin trying to get that result from. From here, we're going to go into Black Templar, and this is that stage I do when I'm painting all Space Marines. And this is for all the soft seals. Anywhere where there's a break in the armor and you can see something underneath the armor, that's usually a soft seal part. Around the necks of helmets has it. Anywhere it's like the inside of elbows, knees, around his kind of crotch armor and stuff like that will all have that as well. I also did the outer casing of his Stormbolter was done in black as well, plus all the belts and stuff. So there's quite a large belt and strap holding on his cape at the back of him, and then like all his talismans and stuff are held on around his front. I did that all in black as well. Bit of Volupus Pink was used for the gums of the wolf on his back, and then Flesh Tear's Red was used to base coat in the blade of Mordecai, his big famed wolf axe that he carries. And it will be quite late into the painting of this model where I returned to the axe of Mordecai because I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with him to try and give him an awesome molten effect. I went for my traditional easy to follow guide and it turned out fantastic. So you have to wait till the very end to find that out, but I promise you it's worth it. It looks really good for really minimal effort. Basilicanum Grey was then used for the Crux Terminatus on his shoulder pad. I don't know whether I would personally choose to do Crux Terminatus in stone. I prefer the idea of them being like gold and stuff like that, but is that the way they're supposed to be? Then that's the way we're going to do them for the video. From here we have Wildwood, and that's just for the haft of his beautiful axe. I noticed later on in the video that it didn't actually return to the haft. Obviously my brain thought it looked good and I didn't return to it to layer it or anything like that. Perhaps I should have. And if I was going to layer it, or in my head what I was planning to do was grab some Catachan flesh and highlight up those leather strap bits, but it does dry really nice and I just left it, so it's up to you. You can go back to it with Catachan flesh if you so wish. Lead Belcher was then used for all the silver sections of the model, so obviously Mordecai has a lot up the haft of it. The rest of the Stormbolter, and then there's very little else around him because he is of course the chapter master of the Space Wolves. Most of his ornamentation is gold, as befitting his rank. And speaking of gold, Retributor armor makes its appearance for the banding of the metallic parts on Mordecai, and then all the kind of nice details that exist across the big huge gorgeous wolf motifs on his shin guard. And all the kind of inlaid designs that this makes his like kind of armor stand out from any other Space Wolf you've ever seen. Being very careful going around the axe of Mordecai to get those awesome wolf head symbols locked in perfectly. From here, we're going to go for Celestra Grey, and that's just for his wolf company symbols that are on his right shoulder pad. It is a rearing white wolf, and it's like he's reaching out for a yellow star, so make sure you get some yellow paint and block in that star as well. Okay, all of his base coats are pretty much in place now. We're just going to touch up the wolf pelt a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Agaros Dunes. And then I'm going to try and add a little bit of pattern to the wolf pelt, so it's not just a single color. So I'm going for the middle of the arms, and I'm going to run a kind of a rough line down that. We're going to bring it up around the kind of, I don't know, like the fur on the side of the wolf's head, a little bit down his back. And down the middle of, you can see the way the tail is kind of, or the back of the cloak is folded 3 times. So I went down the middle of each of those and down the tail and added a really nice kind of secondary color to the pelt. Makes it look awesome. Seraphim Sepia was then used to shade the entire model from head to toe. This is the color I used to shade all of my Space Wolves. It may seem bizarre to you, but I promise you it does give you a really nice result, really nice tone. It shades down the wolf pelts beautifully, the hair, skin. It works great on gold, all the brown leather, all that tan flesh. And like I said in previous videos, it's not exactly the perfect shade for the blue armor, but we're going to be layering that up anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. When it dries, it looks something like this, and I think it looks like a really good place to start layering up the model from. Look how good that pelt looks already. Now, to make the pelt stand out even more, we're going to grab some pallid witch flesh and a small dry brush. You're going to take your time and you're going to dry brush up all that wolf pelt across his back and make it look awesome. While I have you in this point of the video, please do make sure to give this video a like if you are enjoying it or learning something. If you have any questions or any comments, please do put them down below. And please do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Doing those 3 things cost you nothing, but they make a huge difference in how quickly the channel grows and how many people see the videos. If you want to help support the channel even further, there is a couple of ways to do that. Namely, a Patreon campaign and a YouTube membership. They're all linked down below as well. With those, you get a bunch of extra benefits, access to a private Discord server, where you can hang out with me on a daily basis, talking about your hobby, getting involved in all the different events and activities we have over there, and an extra video every single week just for you. If you're a person that buys a lot of Warhammer and you're in the UK or in the rest of Europe, I've got some links for some different independent stock. It's down below. If you purchase using the links down below, you get it like 15-20% off those places. Plus, you also get a little kickback back to me, so it works out best for both of us. So if you want to check out those, if you're in the United Kingdom's Element Game link is down below. And if you're in the rest of Europe, my hobby place is linked down there as well. Okay, with that dry brushing all in, the pelt looks phenomenal. So now it's time to move over to the Fang, and we're going to start the process of layering up the power armor on this guy. This stage, like I've said in all my other Space Wolves, is by far the most tedious step because the Fang is not a very strongly pigmented color. So it does usually require 2 coats. You're going to go around this entire model twice to get a coat that looks something like this, which I think is the right color for a nice Space Wolf army. So yeah, just take your time, go with the flow, think about how easy it is to paint the rest of the model and how awesome Space Wolves are, and it will see you through. Berserker Bloodshade was then brought out for obviously his face to add a little bit of kind of warmth to it. Not that I imagine there's a lot of warmth in his face when he looks down on you. And then obviously around the teeth and gums of that wolf as well. I also used it on that Dark Oath skin we did for the kind of like flayed skin, the tanned flesh or whatever that exists on his pelts. The inside of his cloak actually has a big, beautiful, like all the different companies and a big wolf etched inside of it. It's an incredible thing that you can't see at all when he's deployed, which is really annoying. I don't think they ever showed it off in any of the pictures. It's just when you're building the model you find that part, and it's so cool. Bit of Corvus Black was now used to tidy up the black section of this model, i.e. the Stormbolter casing. We're not going to do the kind of in between the armor panel parts at all. I like leaving them as it is. The shade plus the contrast make them look great. But there's a bunch of power cabling bits that kind of run down his arms, which I've done in black as well. So we're going to spend a little bit of time highlighting those with this Corvus Black stage as well. Ushabti Bone was then used to highlight all of the different like teeth and talismans and stuff. So obviously the wolf pelt across his back has a mighty kind of fanged maw there, so a lot of sharp teeth to highlight. And then he himself has lots of bone trinkets and stuff hanging around the cords on his neck or hanging off different parts of his armor, little teeth and stuff. So a quick coat of Ushabti bone is a very simple way to highlight those and make them pop a little bit. Okay, model really starting to come together now. We only have a couple of kind of last minute details to really make him pop. So we're going to work up the armor a little bit, or the gold, sorry. So Liberator Gold is my gold of choice for highlighting the gold. I said gold a lot there in kind of one sentence. So I do apologize for that. But as you can see, I'm just doing some scraggly lines, catching some of the sharper details, some of the higher points on the gold will really make it stand out and look awesome. Like I said, he is a chapter master, so he is going to have a lot of ornamentation. So spending a little bit more time on the gold really does help him out a lot. Now, to work up that skin, we're going to go for Cadian Flesh Tone first. And I was watching or looking at Fletcher's from Tabletop Tactics, one that he painted up. Incredible job, and he taught me a lot about just by looking at the picture, the lighting that exists across his face, because his hair is kind of parting on both sides. A lot of his face is in shadow, so I kept my highlights from the middle of the face, like just down his forehead and a bit down his nose and then his lips. I didn't go too far back on the cheeks or anything like that, and I think that helped me out a lot. So big thank you to Fletcher for doing that. If you don't know who he is, check him out over on Instagram if you don't live under a rock or whatever, but he's an incredible painter. Okay, we return to Pallid Witch Flesh. This is the highlight, once again, that wolf symbol that exists on his right shoulder pad. And I also decided to use a Pallid Witch Flesh while it was on my brush to spend a little bit of time working up his beard and his long ancient grey hair that he has. So yeah, I just followed the lines of the hair and just added a very small highlight to it. I don't want to make it like stark white. It doesn't look like an albino. It's supposed to look like aged. I didn't want to go for grey because, you know, an old wolf lord's hair isn't grey, it's more white. So I think this was a really nice compromise to that. Gave me a great result. Okay, time to start working up that Axe of Mordecai. Like I said, we started with the Flesh Tears red. We're now going to jump to Rise of Rust. Does that sound insane? Doesn't matter. Do it anyway. And we're going to dry brush fairly heavily up across the blades of the axe. Obviously, because we are dry brushing, the kind of cracks and breaks in the axe will stay nice and red. And the closer you get to the wolf's head, the less we're going to dry brush. So there will be a little bit of red around there. But the majority of the rest of the blade will go for a nice coat of orange like this. After this, we're going to jump up to Uriel Yellow and repeat the process. We did not wash out our brush. So there's a little bit of orange mixed in with the yellow on the brush for that light dry brush. Again, as you can see, it's a much lighter, much more directional dry brush. You can see I'm using to rub my brush against the sharp edges of the blade, top and sides, and it gives us a really nice result. After that, we jump up to pure white. I'm using a 2 thin coats white scar. And remember that I did clean off the brush as much as possible, so there's no remaining kind of colors in the brush. And then we did a very light dry brush across the blade with white to give it that kind of molten white hot look. And after doing those 3 very simple steps, we are left with a beautiful magma blade, which I think the Axe of Mordecai represents, and I think it looks incredible for the minimal effort. Definitely the part of the model that was intimidating me the most, and I'm glad that I was able to find a very easy way to show you guys how to do it. Hopefully a lot of you go out there and emulate it and get nice painted blades. A bit more silver to highlight certain areas, and yeah, we have basically a finished Logan Grimnar. So like I said, I worked up his base off screen, the wolves. There's a video following the wolves and a video showing how I did the basing. Whenever I do these bases beforehand, I do 1 coat of snow, but because I use the dirty down moss, it tends to reactivate, turning the snow a little bit green. So I always do a 2nd coat of snow once the actual finished model has been put on the base, and that's the result you're seeing here. This is our finished Logan Grimnar, flanked by his 2 Fenrisian wolves, ready to wage war on the enemies of the Imperium. Like, what an incredible model. Now, I've recently partnered with Warmag, so I'm going to show you guys how I keep my miniatures safe. I am actually currently out of larger scale magnets, but that's okay. I'm just going to use a couple of smaller ones that I have. I apply them like this. I keep my models secure and safe in Warmag cases. I've been doing it now for about a year, and it has changed the way I store and transport miniatures. It keeps them all safe and sound, especially all these big kind of ornate shapes. It's kind of hard to keep certain things safe, and I think Warmag is the solution to that. So if you want to check those out, I will leave links down below to the Warmag website. You can pick some of them up yourself. With that, this is our finished Logan Grimnar miniature. I would love to know your thoughts on the comments below my easy to achieve tutorial. Are you guys going to be following along with it? Is there anything that you would change, or are you going to copy it straight like me?